Hi there, this is Brennan Lee from thebrennanlee.com in support of consciousness and skill worldwide. Welcome. Have a letter from a friend of mine, an acquaintance and fellow colleague, somebody who's actually also doing great things in the world by helping other people increase their own personal power. And I want to acknowledge my friend for that. The letter reads, or essentially, email, can you explain what intent is? Is intent the will to do a certain process or the desire to achieve a certain goal? How does it come about? Through emotions, intellect, intuition, conscientiousness, conscience, duty? So there's a question there. And how can one stay true to it and not quiver to the end? I often intend to do something, but then the mind simply reshuffles itself, reinterprets stuff, and the initial intent loses power. I thought I wanted that, but not anymore. It's BS anyways. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I should get more clear, but I likely won't. Just given the video. Peter Ralston, my teacher, my mentor, massive influence on my life. Peter writes about intent in the Book of Not Knowing quite a lot, and it's also one of the contemplation prerequisites. But I actually do not really know what nuances the word captures. Just an idea for the next video. Thank you. So awesome. Let's talk about intent. I will do my best to bring an understanding of intent to this video and communicate it to you so that you can then have an understanding for yourself. That is my point, or that is my purpose here. So, can I explain what intent is? Yes, I can give you an explanation. Okay, I want to talk about intent, and through my talking, I would like to invite you to consider what it is, so that then you can have an experience for yourself. So now when I talk about intent, usually when I talk about intent, I am doing it within the context of a workshop, and there are people that are about to usually it comes up in the context of contemplation. So contemplating and intending to become directly conscious of something absolute or relative. However, it also has a huge... We also do exercises with intent in the martial arts training, where instead of, focusing on the, say, action of the person, we actually focus on the intent of the person to do something and respond to their intent. And there's even a principle related to responding to their intent to have action as well that is very effective, but that's another story. However, I'm laying some foundation so that we can start considering what is intent. And I did not want to relegate it to some very specific area of study, such as contemplation. I wanted to show you also it happens in martial arts, and it is even the stuff that has me moving my hand or talking to you on the video. You see, so then if it's stuff, then what stuff is it? What is intent? So now, intent seems to be that which creates the action. That stuff that creates the action. Like, for example, I tell a story about seeing a wild tiger in India. I don't know if you have seen a wild tiger, even a tiger in captivity will do, but a tiger. These guys are great examples of intent. Now, the type of intent that's there is like a killer intent. And I remember being on like a safari type truck, and we came up to a place, and I looked and I could see the tiger. It was a young tiger, but still a tiger in the distance, not too far away, maybe 20 yards. And I just remember looking, and then it turned and it looked at me, and the eyes that came out of that creature almost had me shit my pants. Okay, not literally, but it's like, it was a shock. I was like, oh. And I got in an instant something about intent. Like, if that creature intended to kill me, I'd have no choice. It is like an unstoppable force, so to speak. And that is killer intent. That's intent, raw and unfiltered. And I also got clearly that even if I was doing harm to the animal, it would not waver. There would be no shaking that mind. It was insanely powerful. I was like, whoa. So I really got that creature, if there's intent for it to do something, it does not change or do anything else, and it's raw power. So intent in this case is the power to do something. And it's the let me see, what is that stuff? It's like the intent is very closely linked to the action, yet is not the action itself, yet the action does not occur without the intent. If there's no intent for the action, there is no action. So it's like it comes before the action, yet is very wed to the action. And if I tell you, for example, that I'm going to stand up out of a chair, but I have no intent to actually stand up, guess what happens? I don't stand up because there is no intent there. Now, if I tell you I'm going to stand up and there's intent to do so, then I stand up and that's it. Or if I'm going to raise my hand, I raise my hand and that's it. I intend, and so the action occurs. Intent itself does not seem to be a tangible. It's more like a principle. Something that allows for action to occur, yet is not of the action. Like the nature of intent itself is not of the action, and yet it creates the action. And it seems to be something that is derived of a living creature, like a human or a I see it in animals. They just have, there's nothing in the way of, that's it. For me, there's nothing in the way of their intent. Like when I looked at that tiger, there was nothing standing in the way of it intending to do something. Like no mind, no social, just power. Whereas usually with humans, as far as I can tell, we have something else going on, and our intent is not to be so clear-minded. Our intent is to be gummied up by social and other stuff. So now, I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. At least we're on our way to discovering more, and I think it's also important that we continue to question this matter to get deeper into it, and then thus provide a deeper understanding. So how does it come about? All right, how do I create intent? Oh, intent, this sounds great. How does it come about? You make it up. You create it. You bring it to being. You do it. Yeah, but how do I do it? Just do it. There is really no other way for me to explain that. Okay, there are other ways for me to explain that, yet the reality of intent is that you create it. You make it up from nothing. You make it up from nothing. Yeah, and in my mind, I am hearing gripes, and I'm not really hearing, but in my mind's eye, I'm imagining that if I say, well, you just create it, that you might have a problem. You got a problem? You got a problem with me? But I can't create it. You see, now this brings to mind that we do an exercise. It's the how to create enthusiasm exercise. And people usually have a big problem with that when they come here. But the thing is, when I was a young student, when I was studying here at the dojo, there was one time I was young and I was on the mat training and I wasn't being very enthusiastic. I was being a lard ass, kind of lazy. And he said, be more enthusiastic. And you know what I said? I'm like, I can't. I whined, I can't. How do I do that? He's like, you create it. I'm like, but I can't create it. I don't feel like I can create it. Yeah, okay. And I didn't find the capacity to be able to create that or to generate that. Now, however, I learned how to do that. And it seems to me one of the biggest hurdles I had to get over was realizing that I could, in fact, author my own mind. I am the one who's responsible for that which occurs in my own experience. in a certain sense. Now, I don't have control so much over objects, yet there's everything else is up for grabs, including my state of mind and the intent with which I move about the world, and what intent am I creating, and the ability to generate that and be clear that I'm the one generating that and take a stand for I am creating it. Why? Just because. I don't need a reason. Okay, so I had a massive breakthrough at some point, which is another story. And now I live in a world where if intent is needed, I create the intent just because I choose to do so. And is not determined by external circumstance, is determined by me. And so that's how intent is created. You create it. Now, maybe you aren't good at creating intent. Okay, practice. You can train it. You can train things like that, like training a principle. You see, at first, the principle isn't very accessible. Then I understand the principle. Then I can practice the principle, and then I can deepen my understanding through lots and lots of training. So then intent becomes powerful. And then I can have it work for me, in a sense. Okay? So how do you create it? How do you have intent? You make it up. You create it. You bring it to being. Yeah, but if I can't do it anyway. Okay, now how can one stay true to it and not quiver to the end? Now this is not a problem. So basically, what if I have intent, but then my intent falls apart? Or what if I have some willpower and my willpower falls apart? Now, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I do not want to use the word willpower. I'm not equating intent with willpower. Perhaps intent would be what would bring willpower about. That which arises before the willpower. Perhaps. Now, how do I not quiver until the end? This is not a problem of intent. This is a commitment issue. Now, I'm not talking about I'm talking about commitment like a principle, like a powerful driving force that goes through any barrier, no matter what the barrier, until the end. That's commitment. Now, I will likely say this in a future video, but commitment is like it's done already. It's already done because I am committed. I am committed. That means it's a done deal. There is nothing that will get in my way that I will not go around, find a way to solve, go underneath, blow it up, make it disappear, or get through, or maybe realize I don't have to go through and go another way. Whatever means are taken does not matter. The commitment stays. If there is no staying till the end, then there is no commitment. The commitment is that force that brings the body and the mind through whatever obstacle needs to go through or around or whatever until it's over. That's commitment. And apparently there's an old samurai story about two schools of thought. There were the samurai on one school that I will do this or I will die trying. And then there was the other school that said, you're not even allowed to die. You just get it done. Okay, so now staying true to the end just means you stay true to the end. You don't quiver. You don't give up. These are things that you do not do. Like if I have a choice of everything in my experience of what I can do, like and what is good and what is bad and what I can do and all this stuff, it is a decision not to go down a certain road. It's not a decision to stay on a path, perhaps. The decision could also look like, I'm not going to go here, I'm not going to go here, I'm not going to go here. The only place I'm going is here, right down them, or whatever. One of the things I've learned about martial arts, and also from my teacher and mentor, is that being really good at martial arts and controlling my mind so that I can create the mind states necessary to be good and masterful or skillful, it's more, and this is what my teacher would say to me, it's more about what you don't do than what you do. It is more about what you do not do than what you do. Your mind is already programmed to want to give up, likely. Your mind will already put up a fuss when things get uncomfortable. That's its natural proclivity. So then in this case, you do not do that. You don't go down that road. You just don't do it. Yeah, but, and this maybe the argument comes up in your mind. Yeah, but I can't help it. Then I don't care if you can't help it. Help it. Do it. Do it anyway. Again, bring power to the equation, like your own personal power to the equation. You don't go down the road. You don't go down the road that has you quit. You don't go down the road that has you stay off track. You don't go down the road that gets you distracted. Just no. Only this way. And then you will go that way. It's very simple. Not easy to do, but simple. Okay, so then you exercise the principle of commitment and you decide that that is what's going to occur no matter what, period, end of story. When you make that decision, it's done. All you need to do is take the action until completion, and it's like waiting. Just act. Okay, okay, doesn't matter. It's going to be at some point over, and then done. Okay, then the commitment has been fulfilled, and you move on. Okay, so that's how you bring it to the end. You will run into problems when you commit to something. That is the nature of commitment itself. If you don't commit, there's no problem. And it does help, or it is useful, to consider for yourself that if you know yourself really well, and when you make a commitment, you know what the games are you're going to play on yourself. You know what your likely weaknesses are. You know what that stuff is. So then you act accordingly, and you act within full understanding that those weaknesses are going to come to the fore. And you go, nope, I'm going this way today, buddy. And you do it until the end. See, so that is another aspect of knowing yourself, which is useful toward that end so that you know how to prepare yourself in your mind. So that's how you take it to the end. You do not, it's as simple as if you quiver and lose willpower, don't do that. If you give up, don't give up. I imagine in the military, the guys are going through basic training, even better. You've got to take a hill and there's somebody shooting from a machine gun, like up there at your face. You have to run up the hill. You need to take the hill. Every fiber in your being is screaming at you to give up. And what do? You don't do it. You don't give up. And you move to the hill. Your friends are dying. You're moving to the hill. That is the end of story. You're somebody who's going to support you. What are they going to be screaming at you? Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Keep going. See? So you do that, and you do not let your feelings and your emotions and your state of mind or anybody else's state of mind or their emotions or their feelings or any objects or whatever get in the way of your commitment. You make it happen. So speaking more about intent, Peter writes about intent in the book of Not Knowing quite a lot, and it's also one of the contemplation prerequisites, but I actually do not really know what nuances the word captures. We could speak about intent in really, really, really simple terms. You just really want to do something. You really want it. That's it. Not like a passing desire, but like this is going to happen. Intent. It's you really want to know or want to do something. There's a story I tell about an old monk and a young monk, usually in the contemplation intensives when I want to talk about intent or get people to understand that and really go for it and really commit to having intent and going for it, is that there's an old monk and a young monk and they leave the monastery and they're going to get rice or something. They need to go down to the village, and then so after they go along for a little bit, the young monk, they get out of sight of the monastery, and the young monk goes to the old monk. He's like, hey, tell me what's the secret? Can you tell me the secrets? Don't worry, I won't tell anybody. We're away. Nobody's going to know. What's the secret? What's the secret to enlightenment? Or what's the secret to mastery? Or whatever, And old monk doesn't say anything. They keep walking. Young monk keeps bothering him, keeps asking the question, hey, tell me about this. Tell me the secrets. In this case, they're working on enlightenment. So it's like, what's the secret to enlightenment? And then they're crossing a river. And then at some point in the river, the old monk grabs the young monk and pushes his head under the water and just whoop. The young monk has been around enough to know, this is a test. This is a test. I need to get something here. So he's like, what am I going to get? So he's waiting. At some point he tries to stand up and he can't. So he's like, okay, keeps waiting. Then he starts to run out of air. He tries to struggle more. He's like, damn, this old guy is real strong. He's holding me down. Fuck, I can't get up. So he tries to stand up again. He can't do it. He starts to panic. He starts to freak out. He's running out of air. These thoughts start going through his mind like, oh, crap. I pissed him off. I'm annoying. Nobody's going to know. We're in a river. Nobody's going to miss me. I'm an orphan. It doesn't I'm going to die and nobody's going to care and it's going to be over. Start freaking out. It's like panic. And at some point, finally, he stands up. Boom! Throws the old guy. Boom! 50 feet through the air. The old monk lands in the water, gets up, sandals all flopping everywhere. He gets up and stands up. This guy's freaking out, goes over. Oh, he tried to kill me. The old monk looks at him, why'd you do that? It's like, well, when you want to know, like you wanted that breath of air, then you'll know. See, so that tells a story about intent, real intent. So from that, you can draw your own conclusions, but then consider the matter in that light. That's intent. You can improve it. You can get better at it. So this is up for your consideration and for your training. I hope this video has been of some value. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And you're invited to my website, thebrendanlee.com, so you can learn about consciousness and skill worldwide. Thank you. Take care.